Hi, everyone. My name is Sheila. Today is the day that I chose to start sharing with you my journey, my testimony, how God prepared me for, as of right now, one of the scariest and toughest times of my life. I sit here before you, 5 years breast cancer free. What a blessing. I probably seem a little bit off right now, and I'm really struggling right now because my heart is racing. Not only because to tell the story, it takes me back into some things that there's a part of me that want to push it aside because to think about it can be quite scary. I have been preparing to do this by purchasing certain equipment and doing a few things to make these videos as good as I could possibly make them because I really want the professionalism of me sharing my story to be at its utmost. I have discovered that several of the pieces of equipment that I purchased are now missing. I'm afraid that I may have lost them last night. I think they may have fallen out of my car because I've looked everywhere and I can't find them. So I've got two things against me right now, but I thought, you know what? The devil is a liar. The devil is trying to keep me from starting this because this is the day that I have been saying for a while that I wanted to start these videos. Not using my mirror monitor that I have purchased because that is one of the pieces that is missing. So this video is not going to be at its clearest. I've been recording videos for quite a while without that. And so we're just going to go with it. I'm praying that it's in my husband's car, but honestly, I really don't think so. I've really thought it through, and I'm 100% sure that it was in my car last night. We shall move forward. I feel that as I start to move forward, I'm going to calm down a little bit because right now I'm very high strung. I'm trying not to let it get to me, but I am human. Forgive me if I'm sounding a little bit off cue. I feel that in order for me to truly share my testimony journey with you, I need to just fill you in a little bit on my childhood upbringing. I grew up in a faith-based family. My father attended church. My mother attended church for as long as she could. When she was placed in her wheelchair, it got a little bit difficult for her, but she never missed a beat. She had her Bible in her hand about 80% of the time. She would sit in her wheelchair and just read her Bible. My dad, as a gospel singer, did a lot of traveling. My mother wasn't always able to go. When I was younger, I remember her always being there. But as, like I said, once she got wheelchair bound, it was a little bit more difficult for her. I grew up in the country. A lot of the churches that we attended were country churches, just not handicap friendly. I always come home and share with her how the program went and how daddy sounded. And they would have practices at our house. And so my mother would be able to hear the songs and she'd sit there and she'd be patting her foot. I mean, we really put God first in our home. Fast forward to when I left home as a married person to my first husband. I can remember calling home because I tried several churches and the churches just didn't seem the same. Everything seemed very foreign to me. I just didn't understand the way some of the churches were being ran. One of the things that my mom shared with me, she said, baby girl, it's not the walls that surround you. It's your faith within your heart. Don't worry about finding a church. Just make sure that God is with you at all times. I took that to heart and it helped me to be able to get through the times that it took me to find a church. Fast forward to when all of that changed for me. I woke up one day finding myself getting divorced, finding myself feeling very, very alone. And I remember saying, because I felt it in my heart, I said it out loud. I said, God, you're not here with me right now. You have taken away my husband. You've taken away the life that I have always wanted. So I struggled. I struggled hard. I didn't know how to tell my parents I was divorced. There were so many things that happened within that time span. I was so afraid. I felt so alone. As I struggled, I remember my mom saying to me, baby girl, when you're unable to pray for yourself, just know I will always be praying for you. You're going to find your way back. When she said it, I remember looking at her thinking, nah, nah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm a good person. I've lived a decent life. And now I'm out here struggling. I don't have what I was supposed to have. Little did I know. Moving into my townhouse, trying to do the right thing with a little 8-year-old boy that his whole life had been turned upside down. I saw little things happening that reminded me that God was still there. I started to see little things that was happening within my sons and my life that reminded me I wasn't alone. As I saw those little things happening, I felt my heart changing. I was very poor. I had basically no money to spare. I had enough money to pay my rent, car payment, food, clothes, and that was it. There was no money for fun things. Christmases was always a struggle because I had to figure out how to get presents for my son. I remember a Christmas when literally a miracle happened. I think it was that miracle that happened that turned my faith back around. It turned me back to believing that there is a God. My little boy is the one that said, "Mommy, there really is a Santa." Let me tell you that story. It was Christmas. My son had asked me for a bike. He said, "Mommy, the only thing I really want Santa to bring me is this one bike." And he showed me the bike. The bike was $300. That was a lot of money. He was so excited and wanted that bike so bad. I put it on layaway, knowing in my heart, I have no idea how I'm going to get this bike out of layaway. There is not enough money coming in that's going to afford me to get this bike. But I put it on layaway. Little did I know, faith bound at that time. I paid for it little by little. I was down to $150 left to owe on the bike. Mind you, at this point, Christmas is literally about 2 weeks away. I looked at my finances and I knew that there was just no way that I was going to have the money to get the bike out. So at that point, I sat my son down and I explained to him that there are a lot of kids in this world that Santa has to take care of. And some of them don't have food. Some of them have no toys at all. And so this year, because there's so many kids that are without, Santa has to spend a lot of his time and money taking care of those kids. Santa may not be able to bring you the bike at Christmas. He may have to get it a little after Christmas. I remember him looking up at me with his beautiful eyes. He teared up a little bit and he said, "Okay, Mommy, but I really want my bike." I felt so broken in that moment. I didn't know what to say, what to do. I remember going to bed that night and I just cried. I just felt as if I was a horrible mother. Here I am again, disappointing my child. Just wanted to do good and I can't even do it. Off work one day and it's Thursday. It is the day before Christmas Eve. I walk over to my mailbox. Inside my mailbox was a check for $150. When I moved into my apartment, I was getting electricity turned on in my name for the very first time. I had to pay a deposit, a $150 deposit. They were returning to me the deposit because I had made enough consecutive payments on time to warrant getting my deposit back. I remember crying with joy. At this time, the place that the bike was at had already closed. So I knew that my only choice to get the bike would be tomorrow, Christmas Eve. What am I going to do? I have to work on Christmas Eve. This bike was literally at a mom and pop store. They closed at whatever time they felt like they needed to close. I called them that morning and I asked what time they closed. I believe it was 1 o'clock that they told me they were going to close, which at that time I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't get off work until noon. I have to make sure that all the things are put away and all the things are done before I can leave my job. It was literally across town in San Antonio traffic on Christmas Eve. And I shared with the gentleman that I have a bike on layaway that I really need my son for Christmas. He basically said, "We've got things to do. We're closing." Again, I believe it was 1 o'clock. When I looked at my clock as I started the journey to get to the place, I had like 30 minutes to get there. All the way, it wasn't until later that I realized that I was asking God to just get me there. Let me get this one thing for my son. I don't know that I was conscious enough to think that I was actually talking to God as I was making that journey. I got there and they had just locked the door and I just started beating on the door and I was just like, "Please, please, please, please. I've got the money right here. Please, please, please." And he came back to the door and he let me in and I was able to get the bike for my son. All the way home, I was in such a happy state. I was going to be able to do this one thing that my son wanted more than anything in the world. Christmas morning came. We had an upstairs, downstairs townhouse. I remember him coming down the stairs to see what Santa had brought. And there was like a part of the stairway that was a wall. And I remember when he stepped forward from the wall where he could see the Christmas tree and see the bike sitting there. I remember him rubbing his little eyes and looking again. And he turned back and said, "Mommy, Mommy, there really is a Santa." He ran to his bike. He was the happiest little boy in the world. At that moment, I realized that God had never left me. He was sending me through a new stage of life. He already had the plan that everything was going to be okay. My son shared with me that he understood everything that I said, but he said that he kept praying to God that God would help Santa be able to get him his bike. Slowly but surely, my faith, my belief started to come back. I realized so much in that time span because not only did I have that incident, but I had so many incidences where God just made and paved the way for me. You see, I was going through a tough time. I was feeling all alone, and I felt like I had done the worst justice to my child by having him in a divorced, broken home and having him to have to go back and forth from a mommy and a daddy and the struggles that went on with that. God was making a way through all of that to make my journey a success. This concludes part 1 of my testimony/journey. My goal is to post these videos every Saturday throughout the month of September. So please make sure you've hit that subscribe button and you have your notifications on. Hopefully I will see you on part 2 on Saturday, September the 13th. See you soon. Bye-bye.